Welcome to the Sage 1 to 100 Leveling Skills Guide. I'll be going over all of your skills as you train to heal your team with the blood of your enemies better than the rest of them, but also hopefully kill your enemies along the way. Watch as you go from this...
Get in the robot, warrior of light.
To this... This is a beginner-focused series, aimed to help those who are new to Final Fantasy XIV, the MMO genre, or still just need a little help. In that same vein, this will be focused on your actions and how to use them. We'll not be going deep into optimization, instead focused on the general play and giving general opening rotations. We will go through these together in order to help new players understand the process. If you wish to push your play further, there are further places you could research the job. The goal here is to drop players in on the ground level so they can make strides to improve themselves. Tooltips are broken up by expansion and that expansion's level cap. So level 70 for your starting levels, 80 for Shadowbringers, 90 for Endwalker, and a final level cap of 100 in Dawntrail. I recommend all players add Sprint and Limit Break to their hotbars, both found in the General tab of the Actions menu. And as for how my hotbars build, it'll make sense at 100. Just put your skills on your hotbar so that you are comfortable as you play. Everyone has their own way of doing things. If you want more info on the how and why I set up my UI, check the description for a video about it. Finally, keep in mind that this is an active MMO. Patches can and will change jobs. Check the description for a quick overview of each patch's changes or special notes. With all that out of the way, please support me in whatever way you can, check my links below, and let's begin. Sage is a healer all about control. When things are going well in casual content, Sage tends to have a very easy time of things. So easy that you are specifically encouraged to waste your resources just to make use of the MP regen. The moment things start going wrong, Sage can struggle a bit more than the other healers. Sage doubles down on the typical idea of never using a hard-casted heal. You have a wide variety of instant cast abilities with very short cooldown timers. The main ones being tied to your resource of Addersgall. Uniquely, you're a DPS healer more than the rest. You heal a chosen target every time you do damage to enemies, and some of your kit is designed around this. So if you insisted on being a healer only, that won't cut it as a Sage. To obtain the Sage job, you must own the Endwalker expansion. You must complete your level 10 class quest, something you should have done long ago, be level 70, and head to the quest giver in Limsa, south of the main Aetheryte Plaza. It's past the Dancer job quest if you've not picked that up. Before worrying about the Sage toolkit, a reminder that you have healer role actions. If you want detailed descriptions of these actions, head to the description or the card in the corner for a video about them. I will otherwise not describe their use here. This can be a confusing job to learn. Please know how to heal before attempting this job, or be ready to do a lot of low-level dungeons to catch up your knowledge. Starting with some of the unimportant traits you begin with as Sage, just to note about them even if we have nothing to discuss. Level 20 and level 40, Maim and Mend, and Maim and Mend 2. Damage and healing are boosted by 10% and 30% at each of these levels. These only exist due to how the first 50 levels are balanced. Gameplay-wise, they mean nothing. Level 54 and level 64, Somanoutic Oath and Somanoutic Oath 2. Similar to Maim and Mend, this boosts attacking skill potencies. When sinking to lower levels, your potencies will drop lower. Generally, advice given should apply at all levels. With those out of the way, let's talk about your base kit that basically all healers have. Level 1, Dosis. This is your basic attack. Costing 300 MP per use, it has a cast time of 1.5 seconds. Dosis does 300 potency of damage to the target. This is what you spam when fighting a single enemy and don't need to be healing. Level 2, Diagnosis. A basic heal costing 400 MP and has a cast time of 1.5 seconds. The target is healed for 400 potency of healing. You will very rarely, if ever, use this heal. The button itself is extremely important to have on your hotbars though. Level 10, Prognosis. Costing 700 MP and having a cast time of 2 seconds, this heals all allies within 20 yalms of yourself. This is your AoE, Area of Effect heal. It heals 300 potency to allies in range. Anytime there is party-wide damage to take care of and you don't have other resources, this is your fix. Level 30, Eukrasia. This is where things are going to get complex. Before talking about the skill, we have a UI element to look at. Upon using Eukrasia, this symbol will light up to signify the buff is active. This way you can see at a glance if Eukrasia is active, in case you forgot you pressed it. This skill has no cast time, a recast timer of 1 second, and does nothing on its own. It changes the previous 3 skills into a different Eukrasian form we have to go over next. First, let me note the following. The global cooldown is 2.5 seconds. All skills on it go on cooldown for 2.5 seconds. Eukrasia has a unique global cooldown of 1 second. All 3 Eukrasian skills have a 1.5 second recast. Add these two together, and it adds up to the same 2.5 second recast. Upon pressing any of these skills, the Eukrasia buff wears off. Level 30, Eukrasian Dosis. This is an instant cast and costs 400 MP. Rather than doing damage to the target, this puts a damage over time effect, or dot, onto the target for 30 seconds. Due to how dots work, they do damage every 3 seconds on a server tick, meaning this hits 10 times for 40 potency. That's 400 potency total for the full duration. The fact that you can cast this while moving is a big benefit. You can hit enemies while dodging or running along with the tank as they pull enemies. Putting dots on a bunch of enemies as you move is better than nothing at all. While it isn't that much more damage than regular Dosis, get used to using this for when it becomes far stronger. Level 30, Eukrasian Diagnosis. Once again, an instant cast. Eukrasian Diagnosis costs 800 MP, double a Diagnosis. This is a heal of 300 potency, but also puts a shield on the target with 125% of the HP restored, or a 375 potency shield. If this is a critical hit, which yes, heals can crit, will apply 2 shields of 375 potency. Since a critical heal is a bigger heal by nature, this together is a very large shield. Note the warning text past the duration. You cannot stack this with itself. Eukrasian Prognosis or Scholar Shields. A stronger shield than the currently applied one will automatically overwrite and replace the weaker one. When working with your own shields or when being paired with a shield healer, avoid spamming shields. Spamming heals is bad to begin with, this just makes it even less effective when done wrong. This is a very nice skill to use before the tank pulls or when mid-run. The higher cost is of no concern, especially outside of combat. In wall-to-wall pulls, this can keep your tank at max health, even against chip damage. Otherwise, it can be an extra layer of protection for tank busters and harder trials and raids. More usefully is when one person is collecting Vuln stacks and is taking plus 50% damage from literally everything now. If there's any saving them, it'll be babying them with dedicated shields until they're cleansed. Level 30, Eukrasian Prognosis. Instant cast and also costs 800 MP. The range remains 20 yalms. All allies hit receive a 100 potency heal and a shield 230% of the size of that heal, or a 230 potency shield. Once again, cannot stack with the other shields or Scholar Shields. This time, there is no bonus shield for getting a critical hit. This is a very weak heal by itself. Actively be using the shield or do not use this spell at all. Ideally aim to benefit from the heal and the shield reducing damage. Though even then, this is not generally ideal to use. Unless your party is collecting Vuln stacks that they need a buffer, your other tools will usually cover the difference. Like Eukrasian Diagnosis, in harder content shields are more appreciated since stuff will actually hurt. It's not bad, just usually not the best option. Keeping track of Eukrasia is very important, if for the dual interactions alone. Due to one Eukrasia skill removing the buff, if you need 2 Eukrasia skill uses, you need to press it both times. Be sure Eukrasia is in a decent spot for repeated usage. Level 58, Pepsis. If you've played Scholar, this is your emergency tactics, but it can be even more fiddly to use. It has a short cooldown of 30 seconds and removes any shields on anyone within 20 yalms, restoring a fixed amount of HP potency based on which shield is applied to the target. 450 potency if a Eukrasian Diagnosis is removed, and 350 potency for Eukrasian Prognosis. This button is you saying, I need a really big heal right about now. For example, a low HP tank and little to no abilities available. Here is a strategy I use in emergencies. Eukrasian Diagnosis the tank, Pepsis to turn the shield into a heal, then Eukrasian Diagnosis again to keep them shielded. Let me emphasize that this is for emergencies, not a general tactic. It is overkill for anything but. In casual play, I tend to most often use Pepsis for AoE healing. Multiple players take damage they shouldn't have, or some mechanic was failed, hurting everyone. You might need to act quickly. Eukrasian Prognosis, Pepsis, and Eukrasian Prognosis again will heal everyone up and prepare for incoming damage if there is any. Sage can often lack a way to get big, direct healing onto players. Pepsis is a last-ditch option to achieve that goal. Just to emphasize the power of Pepsis, let me compare the base spells to a Pepsis use. Given this is the Sage version of emergency tactics, this very well embodies the idea of an emergency button. Diagnosis is 400 potency. Eukrasian into Pepsis is a total of 750 potency. Prognosis is 300 potency. Eukrasian into Pepsis is a total of 450 potency. Level 66, Addersting and Toxikon. We've not even talked about your main resource, but you have a secondary resource. Whenever a Diagnosis shield you placed on any player, or Prognosis shield on yourself, is broken by damage and not Pepsis, you are granted a stack of Addersting up to a maximum of 3. It also comes with a very useful loud chime anytime the shield breaks. You can only spend them on one skill, Toxikon. This has no cost other than Addersting, no cast time, and does 240 potency to the target. It has a 5 yalm radius, doing a 120 potency AoE to any close enemies. While usable for AoE, it's not the best option. Better is using Toxikon as your Ruin 2 if you know Scholar. This allows you to attack while moving. The lack of cast time means you can attack even when you can't stop to use doses. Eukrasian Dosis is an option, but if the enemy already has the dot running, an early refresh is likely not the best. If you need to move and you can't be casting doses, Toxikon allows you to do both. As such, use it as a movement tool. Though if used on 2 enemies at once incidentally, it is outright better than doses. On a final note, you will start every duty with 3 stacks of Toxikon. Let's return to building up our main toolkit now that we covered all the interactions between the skills talked about up to now. Level 26, Phlegma. This is a bit weird. It costs 400 MP and has no cast time. It activates the GCD for the normal 2.5 second cooldown, but has an independent charge time of 40 seconds. Charge time because you can charge up to 2 uses of Phlegma. The moment you use one charge, the next begins to charge. It doesn't end there, because this is essentially a melee skill. It has a range of only 6 yalms, which is extremely small. You should be near melee range anyway, but this forces you to duck in extra close to use. Phlegma hits the target for a 400 potency attack, and all enemies within 5 yalms for 30% less potency, or 280 potency. This is useful for both single target and AoE, just far stronger in AoE. Let the tank grab a big group of enemies and fire this off twice in a row for big damage. Target the enemy in the middle of the group so it hits as many enemies as possible. If you choose an enemy at the edge of the group or an enemy with a big hitbox, you won't hit many enemies. In bosses, this is stronger than Dosis, and just as strong as the Eukrasian Dosis right now. It's good damage. These are especially great to use when party buffs are up, so you do even more damage with them. Level 46, Dyskrasia. This is an instant cast AoE costing 400 MP. All enemies within 5 yalms of you will be hit with 160 potency of damage. This is your spammable AoE attack, and I would argue better than Toxikon. Only 80 potency lower on the first enemy, and equal in power on as few as 3 enemies. Toxikon is far better for movement and avoiding damage yourself, like if the trash mobs throw out a ton of AoEs to avoid. You can't use Dyskrasia in this moment, so Toxikon instead. When there are 3 or more, it is stronger than even Eukrasian Dosis, though the dot will be up already in most cases, since you're running along with the tank. Level 12, Egeiro. This is your typical revival skill, taking a huge 8-second cast time and costing 2400 MP. This resurrects any fallen allies. You almost always use this via swift cast. 8 seconds is a lot of lost time, and you need to make sure your party can survive for that time. Top everyone up before committing to the raise. If multiple people are dying, you don't have too much choice but to stand there and slow cast. Don't let someone die if you can help it, but that's if you can help it. There will always come a time where you have no choice, because people just get themselves killed. You will be reviving people. Also remember to heal your ally after they are revived. They start with basically no health, but do have 5 seconds of invulnerability. If they start attacking the moment they stand up and die again, make sure to tell them not to do that. You'll save yourself and all other healers some grief. This covers the base toolkit of Sage, while also already having to dig into some unique aspects. Now comes the more special elements of the job. Level 4, Kardia. This is a buff you place on one player in your party, including yourself. Generally, put this on the main tank, which in dungeons is the Oni tank, and never take it off. In trials and raids, you might swap the target back and forth between the two tanks. In alliance raids, you can put it on yourself if your tank is not taking an active tanking role, as many bosses only need one tank. Kardia places Kardion on the target, which means they get healed anytime you do damage to enemies. I glanced over it earlier, but each of your attacks says it has a Kardion heal of 130 potency. This is global across all your attacks that trigger Kardion. If one attack says 130 potency, they all do. That's also per attack, not per enemy. AoEs only heal one time per use. Put out damage on enemies and you heal the tank at the same time. It's very small heals overall, but it quickly adds up when you're using the job properly. If the tank is pulling very few enemies, or most dungeon bosses, doing damage is enough healing. Unless the enemies have higher than average damage output, Kardion is often all you need. Of course, if the tank is doing big pulls or if it's a raid or trial boss, you're very likely going to need more than just Kardion. That just means you can weave in abilities between your attacks. You still can maintain your offensive while also using dedicated healing skills. Please, for the love of Rilger, don't just stand there, do damage. Healer damage isn't nothing, and now you're actively doing decent healing by doing damage. As you get better, you'll probably take Kardia off the tank, at least for casual content. If your tank is, say, a warrior, any decent warrior is near invincible in the vast majority of boss fights, even more so than the other tanks. Why Kardia on that player when you have a DPS ally who is taking a lot of extra damage? Heal them instead via Kardion. Level 35, Soteria. On a 90-second cooldown, this grants 4 stacks of Soteria. Each stack increases your Kardion's healing potency by 70% and can be used for up to 15 seconds. That means it goes from 130 to 221 potency. That means 2 attacks is a stronger heal than a dedicated diagnosis cast. If the enemy damage is only slightly outpacing how much healing your Kardion does, Soteria quickly overpowers it. This is extremely ideal for trash pulls and immediately after tank busters. If a boss is unable to outpace Kardion healing normally, Soteria will cover bursts of damage. This is one of your weaker abilities, but the fact you can continue to just do damage like nothing is wrong is a huge benefit. A dead enemy can't hurt you after all. Anytime a slight boost to Kardion will be a benefit, pop Soteria. Beware the longer cooldown though. Level 45, Addersgall. This is the main resource of Sage. We can store up to 3 Addersgall, and they regenerate at a rate of 1 every 20 seconds when we're not full. You will also start every duty with a full set. This is really fast generation, especially when not actively needing their power. You'll often want to spend them on nothing just for MP regen. Every Addersgall use is 700 MP back to you. So if you're seeing MP issues with Sage and are using Lucid Dreaming on cooldown, start checking how much Addersgall you're spending. It's probably less than you think. We have 4 Addersgall skills to go over. All of them are OGCD abilities. You can weave them between GCDs at will. Level 45, Druochole. Costing an Addersgall and having a 1-second recast, Druochole heals 600 potency to the target. This is both your main spender of Addersgall, but the least useful option. It's a strong heal for a single player, but that's all it does. If your tank is low on HP, pop a Druochole or two. Better yet, use the stronger option. Level 62, Taurochole. This is better than Druochole in every way, but has a 45-second recast timer. Taurochole heals 700 potency and reduces damage to the target by 10% for 15 seconds. This is a pretty lengthy mitigation on top of the stronger heal. Using this first means you don't need as many other resources due to the tank taking less damage. Throw in, say, a Physis, which I talk about later, and it's a 770 potency heal with mitigation, while Physis also regens the tank. Absolutely use this wherever you can. Big heal, big damage reduction, and Addersgall has such a fast regen. Just keep in mind that this mitigation does not stack with Kerachole, which we'll talk about last. Level 52, Ixochole. This is your AoE heal for Addersgall. It has a 30-second recast timer and cures 400 potency to all allies within 20 yalms. Instead of bothering with Prognosis, throw out Ixochole where you can. If it's multiple raid-wide AoEs in a row, you can also use other tools like the already mentioned Physis. The only time Ixochole isn't an option is if your party is struggling and already stretching your Addersgall to its limit. Level 50, Kerachole. This is a damage prevention button. With a 30-second recast timer, this adds a 10% damage reduction to all allies within 30 yalms for 15 seconds. Unless you're mitigating a very big hit, this isn't too worth it over Ixochole. If Ixochole is on cooldown ahead of a raid-wide, you can use this to reduce the damage everyone receives. This is your worst option for now, but later receives a huge boost. The main benefit for now is the range. In alliance raids, people can end up spread out a lot. Ixochole might miss some players, while Kerachole will more likely hit everyone. Where possible, properly time it to reduce as much damage as you can. Also, remember that this does not stack with Taurochole. Do not try to use both of these at the same time. With all of our Addersgall skills gone over, we can now move on to the rest of our toolkit. Level 40, Icarus. On a 45-second cooldown and with a 25 yalm range, this very speedily launches you to the enemy or party member you have targeted. Did you fall behind the tank for some reason? Hit Icarus. No, you didn't. Need to dodge a huge AoE while away from the boss? Easily made safe. Target the tank, hit Icarus, now you're behind the boss. This is a very useful movement tool. No other healer has this kind of speed, though the restriction of needing a target can be an issue at times. The other downside is the 45-second cooldown. On the same token, if you need this level of movement multiple times within 45 seconds, you're very likely doing hard content or need to get better at positioning. Level 56, Zoe. With a 2-minute cooldown, this increases your next spell's potency by 50%. You have 30 seconds to cast any healing spell after hitting Zoe. You do not need to immediately use the spell. Let me also emphasize spell. Sage has a lot of very strong abilities, but this does not work for any of them. This works on Diagnosis, Prognosis, the Eukrasian variants, and our level 90 skill. That's it. So for example, Diagnosis would go from 400 potency to 600 potency. The problem with Zoe is you typically avoid GCD healing for old GCD heals like Addersgall. If you do end up GCD healing, judge if Zoe is also worth using. One use I like is when the tank is doing big pulls. When the tank is about to encounter the final group of enemies in a wall-to-wall pull, use Zoe and put on an extra strong Eukrasian Diagnosis shield. This gives you a good buffer to do damage before the tank's HP begins to drop. Then you can pop cooldowns as needed. This use also means you don't have to pop Zoe, Eukrasia, and Eukrasian Diagnosis all close together mid-fight. This is where Sage being what I called a control job starts to fall into place. Rather than trying to use Zoe for a big mid-pull heal, you specifically control the situation ahead of time. You get more damage in, which makes enemies die sooner, and not need as many mid-fight tools. Zoe mid-fight is still an option though. If the tank has weaker cooldown management, you can keep Zoe in your back pocket for the inevitable low HP scare when you run out of better tools. Perhaps with Prognosis for AoE variants of this strategy. The party is struggling to not get hit, an extra strong shield can be needed. Just be warned that Zoe and Pepsis have anti-synergy in the absolute majority of cases. Pepsis removes the entire shield for a fixed power heal. If you Zoe a Eukrasian Prognosis, sure you buffed the base heal, but the Pepsis bonus is unaffected. Would be better off buffing a normal Prognosis to 450 potency. The only exception is if you shield, everyone takes damage, and the shields are not fully spent. You can Pepsis the remaining shield power, but only if people are still missing HP from before the Prognosis cast. As mentioned, we'll loop back to this at your level 90 skill. Level 20 and level 60, Physis, Physis Mastery, and Physis II. Physis Mastery upgrades Physis into Physis II, which you won't see the basic Physis unless you sink below level 60. Keep in mind normal Physis loses the secondary effect and is slightly weaker. Physis II has a 60-second cooldown and applies 2 effects to anyone within 30 yalms. The first is a heal over time, or HOT, for 15 seconds. It heals for 130 potency per tick, or 650 total potency. The second effect is 10 seconds of increased healing power on the target. This benefits any co-healers you have, not just your own healing. Notably, this means all heals are buffed and includes your Addersgall abilities. Physis II is a very strong heal alone, but combine it with other abilities and you're getting so much more out of it. Physis II alone won't cover the damage. Physis II, Ixochole, go back to DPS and at the HOT do the rest. The healing also isn't used up after a single heal. It's for the full duration. Far stronger in a lot of ways, but also stacks with the Zoe buff if you GCD heal. Since the cooldown is a measly 60 seconds, you should be using this button early and often, especially use it in trash pools. Just because this is an AoE ability doesn't mean you should ignore it when the only person to heal is the tank. It'll come back up before you need it in a boss and is worth a lot of healing. Something like Physis II into Taurochole. You can even do this during bosses with low party damage. It's just a generally useful skill. Level 70, Haima. On a 2-minute cooldown, this is essentially an 1800 potency shield on a chosen target. This is a huge shield with a catch. Upon putting this buff on a target, they receive a 300 potency shield and 5 stacks of Haima for 15 seconds. When the shield of Haima is spent, a stack of Haima is used to apply a new Haima shield for 15 seconds. This does not reset the Haima timer. You only have the initial 15-second timer to spend all 5 stacks. 1500 potency of blocked damage. Any remaining Haima stacks when the buff ends will be converted into an instant heal. The heal scales based on the remaining stacks, 150 potency each. So if there are 2 Haima stacks, it will heal 300 potency to the target. This is healing at half the rate it would shield, for a max of 750 healing potency. As long as the tank is taking constant damage, most of the stacks will be spent. In something like a wall-to-wall pull, 800 potency of shields will be eaten up very fast. In your average boss fight, it's less likely to spend them all. Plan for some stacks to be converted into healing. Throw this out for a tank buster to reduce the damage with the first shield. The second shield might be spent from auto attacks, and 3 Haima stacks will remain when the timer runs out, giving a heal of 450 potency. Further auto attacks will wear out that third shield. In stronger bosses like in Savage, a singular hit can spend a full Haima. If the boss ends up being cast locked too much, they might not spend too many stacks. It's going to vary boss to boss, and when you use it. It's still a good skill to be using, especially if tank busters are heavy. That covers the starting toolkit of Sage. It can be a lot to wrap your head around the moment you get the job. The main issue is that you start with such a large toolkit. It's actually not that much more complex once you have your footing. If you have Scholar experience, map as much of your learning onto Sage as you can until you are able to really play with the differences. Let's get talking about openers. They set the pace for your rotation through entire fights, both on the DPS and healing end. As a more DPS focused healer, it's especially important for you to try to understand an opener and perform it. Your damage is lower than a normal DPS, but it still helps the party a lot. On the same token, almost no healing will be shown in openers due to what heals being needed can change depending on your duty. DPS openers typically are one size fits all with exceptions, while healing can change more drastically. Pre-pull, Kardia, Eukrasia, Eukrasian Diagnosis or Prognosis depending on which is better for the current boss, Eukrasia, Toxikon, Eukrasian Dosis, 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 Phlegma, Phlegma, Dosis, 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 Eukrasia, Eukrasian Dosis. So I emphasize Toxikon as a movement tool, and yet it's in the opener. This is a very min-max move having to do with how we time our dot. If you are not trying to min-max, but trying enough to use an opener, the following is a good middle ground. It hits the other major bullet points without stretching for every last point of damage. Back to the currently accepted opener. I added in a pre-pull shield that is very likely to be broken by the boss, refunding our Toxikon and giving us our movement tool back. We prepare Eukrasia ahead of time, and open with Toxikon for a few reasons. The first is that as we level up, Toxikon and Dosis will have the same potency. Right now Toxikon is weaker, but for muscle memory you can practice it now. Toxikon as the tank is running to grab the boss, 1.5 seconds before pull if given a countdown timer. Toxikon is the optimal skill over Dosis because of the requirement to use Eukrasia to get Eukrasian Dosis. Preparing Eukrasia ahead of time means we can't access our basic doses. We want to put our dot up as soon as possible as the fight begins. Eukrasia delays this by quite a bit due to the GCD time. Offloading this to before the pull gives us a full second of head start on the dot being applied. This actually does matter for the end of the opener. Fill in some time spamming Dosis casts until party buffs are put up. Most, if not all, party buffs will be applied after the third Dosis. This frees us to use Phlegma back to back under the most party buffs for the most damage. We'll then just go back to spamming Dosis 4 more times. After this Dosis, the timers for buffs will be running out. It's time to Eukrasia into Eukrasian Dosis to ensure they snapshot the buffs, maximizing how strong it will be. From there we just spam Dosis and refresh the dot as it falls off. Use 1 Phlegma outside of burst, then let yourself cap out back to 2 for everyone's 2-minute buff windows. You'll see buffs go out right before Phlegma hits 2 charges, letting you essentially repeat the process. Again, I give you an alternate version of the opener to account for no Toxikon. If you want to do the most damage, the Toxikon opener is probably your best option. We also have AoE openers, and the fact that they aren't anywhere the same as normal openers. It's a bit of a misnomer, since wall-to-wall pulls work very differently to normal fights. The opener begins the moment the tank pulls the first group of enemies, and includes the entire run. Just because you can't use all your big attacks while running, doesn't mean you do nothing. While running with the tank, put Eukrasian Diagnosis shields on them, and dot as many enemies as you can. The dot will be ticking as you run, meaning free damage. If you manage to dot every enemy, just start cycling through them until the tank reaches the final group of enemies. Use Icarus if you fall behind the tank and need to catch up. Once the tank stops running, it's very simple. Spam Dyskrasia and use Phlegma twice once buffs are running. Due to AoE being a bigger rush to kill the enemies quickly, buffs tend to go out immediately. If your team has any party buffs, use that as your signal to Phlegma, assuming it's a 2-minute burst window. During a dungeon, you'll likely drift away from party buffs, so don't worry too much. Once again, no heals are shown in this opener. You can Haima after the first Dyskrasia, but that could be all you need. No need to Physis even. Kardia will take care of the rest. Use your tools as needed, and as you see the tank take damage. If enemies aren't anywhere close to dying yet, some kind of healing will be needed. That covers the starting toolkit for Sage. You start with enough to be overwhelming, and you might not get the job for a few more levels. I personally needed level 76 to finally get it. So let's dive into the Shadowbringers toolkit and see why I was finally able to catch on. Level 72, Offensive Magick Mastery, Dosis II, Eukrasian Dosis II, and Phlegma II. These are a bunch of potency boosts. Dosis II is 320 potency, Eukrasian Dosis II a 60 potency dot for 600 total potency, and Phlegma II is 490 potency with the same 50% drop-off. Additionally, Toxikon has seen an increase to 300 potency. Level 74, Rhizomata. I don't know, Rhizomata with you. On a 90-second cooldown, this instantly grants you 1 stack of Addersgall. This further pushes you to spend Addersgall liberally. Don't be afraid to spend, because you're not just holding onto 3 stacks of Addersgall, you have a 4th with a much longer cooldown. At minimum, keep the Addersgall timer running at nearly all times. Just remember how the Addersgall timer works before hitting Rhizomata. The timer resets to and stays 0 the moment your stacks cap out. If you Rhizomata at 2 stacks, you'll hit 3 and any timer will be lost. Ideally, use Rhizomata when on 0 or 1 stacks of Addersgall to avoid this. The use cases are otherwise simply when you need just one more OGCD heal available. Level 76, Holos. On a 120 second cooldown, all allies within a 30 yalm radius receive 300 potency of healing, plus a shield for the amount healed, lasting for up to 30 seconds. It then applies a buff that reduces 10% of all incoming damage for 20 seconds. That's a very long damage reduction. Multiple mechanics and damage can go out in this time. Use Holos right before the next mechanic begins to both heal the old one and reduce damage from the new one. In dungeons, absolutely use this in trash pools. You heal the tank and reduce the damage they're taking. This is a cooldown you can force on the tank, no matter how few they are using. Some tanks really do need that extra help. Of course, you can use this in boss fights too, but this is far better for the high amount of damage from trash. Very important note, this does stack with Kerachole and Taurochole. Those two don't stack with each other, but they do stack with Holos. Level 78, Enhanced Kerachole. This is a huge Kerachole buff. It now has a hot attached that heals 100 potency for 15 seconds. This translates into 500 potency of healing. Factor in the damage reduction and this is guaranteed to be worth more than 600 potency of healing versus using a Druochole on a single target. While for boss fights you're going to save this for AoE damage, trash pulls you have a new tool to play with. Kerachole immediately the moment the tank finishes the wall-to-wall. This will slow down the damage they take, both directly and via the hot. Throw in whatever other tools you want as well. Then the Taurochole when Kerachole falls off. In terms of AoE healing, this is slightly better than Ixochole. When factoring in the damage reduction too, it's way stronger. Level 80, Panhaima. Before you can even use this skill, you must complete your Sage job quests. Don't even bother trying to use it until you go do the quests. Panhaima is an AoE version of Haima. It works the same way and has the same 2-minute cooldown. It has a 30 yalm range and barriers worth 200 potency or a total 1200 potency of shielding. That's only 600 less than the normal Haima. Any remaining stacks of Panhaimatanon after the 15 seconds are up are translated into 100 potency of healing. This is the perfect counter for the becoming much more common multi-hit stacks and raid-wides. These will use most, if not all, of the stacks of Panhaima. It's still good for only singular raid-wides though. If the boss doesn't have any multi-hit attacks, it's at least an AoE heal. Put a Panhaima, let the raid-wide be reduced by the first shield, then 4 stacks will expire into a 400 potency heal. Panhaima also allows you access to a really strong strategy in dungeons. The first wall-to-wall in the dungeon, use Panhaima. The second wall-to-wall, use Haima. The third encounter is a boss, and Panhaima will likely be back up for it. So long as the cooldown rolls over after the boss fight, you can repeat this for all 3 sections. It might be weaker than Haima for a single target, but this is still 1200 potency of shields for the tank, and trash remains far more dangerous than the bosses. That covers the Shadowbringers toolkit. Personally, I felt like Sage was a bit rough to use until I got Holos. From then on, it clicked with me, and hopefully has for you too. Still wants to control the situation, but you have the ability to do so easily. Let's push more into that with Endwalker skills. Level 82, Offensive Magick Mastery 2, Dosis 3, Eukrasian Dosis III, Phlegma 3, Dyskrasia 2, and Toxikon 2. Once again, this is just potency boosts, but a lot of them. I'm going to take this time to argue my case for Dyskrasia over Toxikon. Toxikon 2 is 330 potency and 165 potency per every extra enemy. Dyskrasia 2 is 170 potency. Toxikon is 160 potency higher than Dyskrasia, and takes 32 enemies for Dyskrasia to come out on top. More potency sounds better, right? It's just outright better. Yet consider the situation where you need to move during a boss fight. A lost use of Dosis is 330 potency. You gain that 330 potency right back if you use Toxikon for movement. So even if you did gain 160 potency from using Toxikon in AoE, you lost more potency from movement. Further, the potency gain is only theoretical. doing a lot more damage to one enemy is not as good as doing more damage to all enemies. The goal of a wall-to-wall pull is to kill everything. Killing one enemy faster will not make that big of a difference. If a pull has one enemy with more HP than the rest, that enemy will be far larger, and likely be too big for the AoE of Toxikon to hit many enemies. Aiming Dyskrasia is just so much easier when not attempting to dodge AoEs, which Toxikon will be available for if you didn't just burn them immediately. Toxikon is ideal when your other options aren't feasible. You're going to have limited casts per run, so maximizing how useful each cast is just is better than spamming them for AoE. Level 82, Eukrasian Dyskrasia. This is the AoE version of your dot, and does not stack with the Dosis dot. It lasts 30 seconds and does 40 potency to all enemies affected per tick, 400 potency for the full duration. The range is 5 yalms around you. Consider how we are using dots in AoE so far, dotting each individual enemy as we run, then spamming Dyskrasia once we hit the last group of enemies. This means the last enemies do not have a dot running. Before starting your Dyskrasia spam, dot everything and get a huge increase in damage. In any situation where you can't wall-to-wall, it's a singular group of enemies you AoE down, you can skip right to the Eukrasian Dyskrasia instead of trying to dot all the enemies. Quite a bit more efficient in that way. Level 85, Enhanced Healing Magic. This is 4 potency boosts. The first is Kardia power going to 170 potency. Every single attacking move does 170 potency healing now, so long as someone has Kardia. Diagnosis is up to 450 potency per use. You probably never use this anyway. The Eukrasian Diagnosis shield is now 180%, making it a 540 potency shield on your target. Remember that critical hits give 2 shields. Eukrasian Prognosis is a 320% or 320 potency shield. You likely won't notice a difference. While it's nice your heals do more, enemies can also do more damage. Level 86, Krasis. On a 60-second recast, this causes all healing actions to do 20% more healing to the target party member or yourself for 10 seconds. This is all of your heals, GCD and OGCD, just like Physis. Krasis and Physis both stack too, if that situation ever comes up. This is often best used for the tank. Anytime you're healing the tank, use Krasis first to give it an extra 20% power. Can maybe even further boost the Diagnosis shield at the end of a wall-to-wall pull. 540 potency Diagnosis shield boosted 50% by Zoe is 810 potency of a shield. Add in Krasis, and that becomes a 972 potency shield. Almost 1000 potency of shielding, 2000 if it crits. Don't normally dump that much into one spellcast in a trial or raid unless you're just not using Krasis. You can instead use it for easier recovery from tank busters and such. Throw it on the player with 3 Vuln stacks on them, so your Ixochole will help them more. Anywhere one player needs a bit extra, Krasis is a good bonus. Level 88, Enhanced Zoe. Speaking of a combo with Zoe, Zoe now has a 90-second cooldown. Be willing to experiment with it more, as it's available more often. It otherwise is the same skill. Level 90, Pneuma. This is a 2-minute cooldown that fires a giant beam just like Eggman. It is a GCD with a 1.5 second cast. It goes 25 yalms in front of you in the direction of your enemy, and is a pretty thick AoE. It hits every enemy in that line, doing 330 potency to the first enemy, and 198 potency to all enemies after the first. This is also a heal. All allies within 20 yalms of your position are healed for 600 potency, plus Kardia on the selected player. Remember when I said about coming back to Zoe at level 90? You can use Zoe on this, as it counts as GCD healing. This is a 900 potency heal when combined with Zoe. If you ever need some huge nuke heal, Zoe boosted Pneumas can cover many situations. This is a go-to tactic for high damage raid wides back to back. This is a really good option for wall-to-wall healing too. You can Phlegma, Pneuma, and not only do big damage to the enemies, but heal up most of any damage the tank has taken. Feel free to delay Pneuma a few GCDs for the tank to have missing HP first. Use this time to position yourself for the attack to hit the most enemies, and maybe throw Krasis on the tank too. In bosses, just pop Pneuma after any raid-wide attacks that need big AoE heals. buffing it as relevant or as a direct result of having used Holos to block the damage. Pneuma alone is already a huge heal. There's lots of things that can be applied by you and your co-healers that could buff it quite a bit more. So start using Pneuma often while you land what spots it is best for. The 2-minute cooldown means you want to be smart with it. Side note, this is the same power as Dosis, so while it is a GCD heal, you lose no damage. That's the end of the Endwalker skills. Pneuma is the star here for sure, though Eukrasian Dyskrasia is pretty nice to have too. Otherwise, the majority of our gains were potency boosts. We can move into Dawntrail next and see that, well, it kinda is like that there too. Level 92, Psyche. This is a new attack on a 60-second cooldown. It's an OGCD that does a 5-yum AoE centered on your target. It does a whopping 600 potency to that target, 300 potency to all enemies around it. This is simply something you're going to use on cooldown, especially in AoE. Wall-to-walls are always big chances for big AoE damage. In bosses, every other use will be in burst windows with party buffs. Until now, we've never had to weave for offensive purposes, only healing. As our only OGCD attack, you might just forget to use it. Get used to it, and ideally use it with Phlegma since that has no cast time, letting you weave far easier. Level 94, Enhanced Soteria. This reduces the Soteria recast time to 60 seconds. This encourages you to use it more often, obviously. Soteria has never been the strongest skill, but it does help out and keeps your damage going. Level 94, Magick Mastery. This is just some potency boosts for Dosis, Toxikon, and Pneuma to 380 potency. This does make Toxikon quite a bit stronger than Dyskrasia now, with the minimum damage being 190 per enemy. The same issue still applies though. Why spam Toxikon haphazardly when you can still use it in AoE for dodging? Level 96, Enhanced Prognosis Mastery and Eukrasian Prognosis II. This upgrades Eukrasian Prognosis into Eukrasian Prognosis II. There is no Prognosis II, just Eukrasian Prognosis II. This further increased the shielding effect to 360%, a 360 potency shield. So another potency boost, but a decent one. Level 98, Enhanced Physis II. This trait boosts the buffing effect of Physis II. The hot was always 15 seconds long, with the healing power buff now being the same length. It was only 10 seconds before, a 50% length bonus. Level 100, Philosophia. The main event of Dawntrail is Philosophia. It has a painful 3-minute cooldown, but the cooldown matches its power. Your healing magic, GCD healing, is 20% stronger for 20 seconds. Needing a lot of GCD healing, this is a good go-to. However, the main effect is Eudaimonia. This is an AoE Kardia for all allies within 30 yalms at the time of your cast. It's a slightly reduced 150 potency per attack, but stacks with Kardia's heal. I want to also emphasize it is any cast, including heals. Like any hot, if there is damage coming anytime soon, you need a more immediate heal. If there is no damage coming out, Philosophia will take care of most of the damage taken on its own. In casual content, you'll most often be using Philosophia this way. Damage is low, so the need to push your skills is lower. The moment things start really hurting, you're going to find Philosophia to be a huge help. Panhaima is only usable every 2 minutes. If a boss likes to use multi-hit raid wides or stack markers, you can't use Panhaima every time. Philosophia is your next counter. You'll have stronger GCD heals, ideally shields and boost your new Eukrasian Prognosis II, to keep up with the constant damage. Then the AoE Kardia will do some of the needed healing. This also does assume your other tools are called for. No infinite supply of Addersgall, no Pneuma, and so on. Ultimately though, this is a powerful capstone skill that can keep you ahead of high damaging fight mechanics. That's the full toolkit of Sage. Control is key to succeeding, but you have powerful skills even when control gets lost. DPSing is rewarded far more than the other healers. Even more so at level 100 with a full-on AoE heal from it. What matters in the end is keeping everyone alive, then moving into being efficient with it. More DPS means less damage from the boss, which is why I'm quickly going back to our opener. We essentially just went over the full opener at the level 70 section with no changes. The only thing we are doing is adding Psyche after the first Phlegma. It's easy to weave after a skill with no cast time, and the sooner we get it out, the better. gives us more leeway if we accidentally delay the next use or such, without pushing it out of party buffs. Because there are no changes and just one addition, we can move into the karaoke opener, for as minimally helpful as that is here. Karaoke openers are where I say the names of skills as they are used. This will help you follow along with the pace of the opener, or what skills to use in what order. The main purpose for that here is the beginning and end, since the timing's a key for party buffs. Pre-pull, Eukrasia, Toxikon. Eukrasian Dosis, Dosis. 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 Phlegma, Psyche. Phlegma. Dosis. 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 Eukrasia, Eukrasian Dosis. We also have an updated AoE opener. Once again, just throw in Psyche after any random GCD, best used after a Phlegma. Keep making sure to burst only once the tank groups up all the enemies. There's also the lack of Pneuma in this opener. Pneuma is extremely strong damage-wise, but you want to try to time it for a little bit of healing if relevant, like in leveling duties. Level cap content, just throw it out, because what's healing? 91 to 99, and whatever we see next expansion, that healing power will also be really nice to have. That covers Sage front to back. There's plenty more advanced tips you can learn since healers have so much more you can do with them. We have the offensive stuff, but keeping everyone alive can take a lot of effort in harder duties and less experienced parties. The power of friendship destroys evil, but so does this gun I found. Thank you for watching the Sage 1 to 100 leveling skills guide. Feel free to give feedback or ask questions on what might still be confusing to you. I am always seeking to improve, as should you. Don't stop at this guide, even if I succeeded in helping you improve. Please leave a rating, comment, sub, those really do help creators. You can also come watch me on Twitch, or even go follow my Patreon. The links in the description will take you where you need to. Have fun in your adventures across Taurochole, and may the power of An and Nidhogg slay waste to your enemies.